Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Hey, welcome to Business Coaching Secrets. Karl Bryan coming at you. Sans Road Dog. Road Dog, it's a public holiday today, and the boy is with his family. So I'm hitting it solo. Hope you guys are doing good. So I got Road Dog. He just sent me some questions. They literally just came in. So I shall be reading them off my phone, and I'll be wearing a pair of my wife's reading glasses to do so. How exciting does that sound? Yeah, why my wife's reading glasses? Because I still refuse to buy my own glasses. So they're baby blue and they don't suit me at all, or my face at all. But one of these days, anyways, hope you guys are doing good. Hope you're doing good. So the Road Dog sent me in. So here's the question. Rather than Zen thought of today, someone wrote this, and I thought insanely clever. If you could write a note to yourself from your former, if you could write a note to yourself from your former self, what would it say? Ooh, good question. Okay. What would I say to from my future self to my current self? You know what? I think what I would say the same thing when I'm 40 to my 20-year-old self as I would to my 60-year-old future self, to my 40-year-old self, and etc. Just, I would write the same thing, and it would say, what would it say? Chill out, you made it. That's it. You know what I mean? Because no one's getting out alive, right? Can't take it with you. If you've ever, Steve Jobs has got a really, really great, I don't know that it's a quote, but it's a little bit of a, like what he said on his deathbed, which, by the way, I don't know that he did actually say it on his deathbed, but it is one of those things, but that's the way it's kind of positioned. And it's really, really cool. But he just said, just so much knowledge and so much experience, and it just dies, and it's going to die with me. And it was so sad. So he tried to get out as much as he possibly could to Tim Cook, and he wrote the book with Walter Isaacson, etc. So you're not getting out alive. You suffer more in imagination than you ever will in reality times 1 million. So I would just keep that in mind. So I just said, like chill out, buddy. You make it. It's all good. I'd also say, like there's 3 levels. And I think most people, they think they want to get rich. It's totally understandable. Once you get rich, you'd probably say, I want to be wealthy. Very different from rich to wealthy. Shaquille O'Neal said something very cool. He said, I'm rich, but the guy who pays my paycheck with the Orlando Magic, he's wealthy, right? So there's wealth, and then there's, you get rich, then you want to be wealthy. When you become wealthy, you want to be free, right? And again, I think what I would say to from my future self to my current self, or younger self, um, skip the first 2 and go for freedom. Not that, and maybe that's impossible, by the way, because if you didn't have money, could you actually be free? And I think that that's debatable, highly debatable. Speak to a monk and they'll give you a different answer. But remember, you never hear about a monk going to a billionaire for advice, but you do hear from the billionaire going to the monk for advice. And I think that there's incredible power in that. Again, 30,000 feet, kind of think that through. Just so many people, they achieve financial success. And then you ask them, are you happy? You forget what you ask them, like what they demonstrate on a day-to-day basis. I don't know that that's the case. Well, I can actually tell you the statistics say very clearly that would not be the case. And Tony Robbins talks about that a lot. And they're definitely not free, not happy, not free. And by the way, and I have felt that highest level myself, where I felt like I was doing, you know what I mean? I was getting somewhere. You know, if you got your, what do they say? You get your ladder up against the wrong house. Um, you know what I mean? Not such a great dynamic when you get to the top. So you want to make sure that you've got your ladder up against the right, you know, the freedom wall, or the, you know, the wall that you're trying to achieve. Anyway, so and then actually makes me think of what does Tony Robbins say? He says that I think it's the art of success and then the science of fulfillment. And I might be messing that up a little bit, but the idea is that, you know, you've got this you know, success. I think success is impressing them and fulfillment is impressing you. That's me, my interpretation of what Tony Robbins has said many, many times, and other people have, you know, talked about it. I don't know that that's 100% accurate, but no doubt you get the sense that, you know, you want to be, who do you want to impress? And that person should be you. And I dare say, without sitting down with you and questioning you and running a diagnostic of questions, there might be you know, that thing where you're trying to impress them. Then again, if I just go to Tony Robbins, love Tony Robbins, hate Tony Robbins, completely irrelevant in my opinion. The guy has done insanely well in the coaching space. And when I say that, forget financially, but influenced a lot of people. And he will say that there's too many people in his audience, too many people that he speaks to, too many people out there that are driven by what he will call significance. You know, not love, not contribution, not growth, but they are driven by significance. And significance is 100% impressing other people, not impressing yourself. And I think that would be an example of a ladder up against the wrong wall, the wrong house, right? So there you go. And I thought Road Dog was going to ask me something about Zen, and then I was going to say something just like I started skipping, and it's kind of cool. You know, I've been doing the old Rocky thing and crossing my arms to do. Kind of, it's fun exercise. But research says that it is an absolute fabulous exercise for anti-aging and longevity. And speaking of Tony Robbins, he will tell you that he jumps on what every single day, and before he goes on stage. The answer to that is rebounder. So if you said rebounder, you'd be correct. So it's the same. Skipping, I don't know that skipping and a rebounder would be the exact. I think that the rebounder will have a little bit less impact. So maybe a little bit better for your ankles, your knees, your hips, and back, which by the way should be brought into it. But they say because of the motion of just going up and down, up and down, up and down, it's fabulous for your health and your lymph nodes and that sort of thing. So, anyways, so I started that and having a little bit of fun with it. Um, Maybe given what I just said, I used to swim a lot. Not a great swimmer. Again, I'm 5'6" and kind of built like a fire hydrant. Swimming is not my natural thing. I don't look, you know, some people jump in the water like, oh my God, you look so graceful. Okay, that's not happening for me. But that said, I got pretty good at doing laps, you know, doing the rollover, to do, you know, and breathing while you're swimming. And the thing with swimming is it's fabulous, fabulous, fabulous for your joints. Um, and if you've ever, I don't know if you ever watched the Olympics and you've ever seen swimmers and people that swim regularly, my opinion is that they, on average, they do tend to look a little bit younger than their years, maybe let's just say. So, and not to mention their bodies are like they've got really, you know, fit, lean. Picture a swimmer, okay? Like it's not the you know, the weightlifter. It is not. It is somebody. You know, they tend to be quite tall, but that tall and lean. Let's say lean. Lean's the word I'm looking for. And if you speak to a doctor that knows what they're talking about, and anti-aging, they will tell you that being lean is good. Having too much fat in any one, you know, fat's not good. Lean is good generally for longevity. So swimming might also be there, but I have been skipping. So, you know, maybe I should swim as well. Let's see. Anyways, there you go. So Road Dog, my man, that is my answer. Someone asked, you, you know, if you could write a note to yourself from yourself, or however he worded it, I would just say, chill out, man, you make it. And I don't know, maybe that provides some value. Hopefully, hopefully. Okay, let's keep moving. Uh, Give us a good example of a good, and he put it in quotes and capitalized it, why for a successful business coach. Um, Look, okay, so I can talk about mine, but you need to have 7 grand a month for an income goal, 25 grand a month, 10 grand a month, hit $1 million. It's just terrible. I don't know, it's terrible. It's okay for your bullseye to get started, but that ain't when you hit the hiccups and the speed bumps, etc. That's just not going to get it done. Um, so and actually, income. I was just trying to think of like another um, freedom to do whatever you want when you want. That's another one that I hear when somebody gets going in coaching. That's kind of their motivation, quote unquote. I don't know that they would establish that as their why, but I will tell you that that seldom works out. And somebody trying to get to 10 grand a month or 20 grand a month, or somebody that wants the freedom to be able to do what they want when they want. That's the reason why they start coaching. That's the reason that they want to, get a bunch of coaching clients. Those are the people that they tend to struggle a little bit in coaching, as well as the folks. I mean, so this is, and I've said this lots, but it's just so true. The business coach that sees it as an experiment and basically goes on like every 90 days, decides if they're going to keep going or not. That's the person, every 30 days, every 60 days, every 90 days, it's like some sort of experiment. Like, does this really work? You've got to go all in. This is a vocation. This is a career. The people that go into coach, the people that succeed in coaching at the highest level. Um, Look, I just talked about it a minute ago. It comes from within. It's a level of hunger. Same with tennis. Why does Roger Federer, long after he had more money than he could ever spend in 3 lifetimes, keep, he's waking up at 5 a.m. and hitting tennis balls, and he had a family and a wife to do. Why did he keep going? Why did Serena Williams do the same? Why did Michael Schumacher back in the day do it? Why did Tiger Woods do it? Why does Tiger Woods still do it? And it's an insatiable appetite that you can't satisfy, just a level of hunger that would make your eyes water. So um just so I look my maybe just look my story, which I don't know, I do a horrible job of talking about this. At least that's what I've been told by people very close to me that know my story, my level of passion. I've been doing this for close to 2 decades. I mean, 17 years on the trot. Coaching coaches, or well, no, in the coaching space, and for the greater part of that 17 years, and I've had a team of coaches. I had a team of coaches very, very early on because I was very good at the lead generation and very good at getting the clients. So I had to have a team of coaches. So I did it very, very early on. So my story, just it's a lot to do with you're listening to a guy who is the entrepreneurial, the youngest son in an entrepreneurial, youngest child in an entrepreneurial family. And I saw the whole thing go sideways in a very real and meaningful way. And I saw myself, then it was the separation, then it was the divorce, and then it was the horrific fighting. Not all of which about business, but the type of parents who would be entrepreneurs tend to have that, that type of personality, maybe, a little bit more go, you know what I mean? In a a little more, I don't know. I'm gonna use the word aggressive. That's not the word. I would not want to put that word on my parents because I don't know that would be accurate, but hopefully the personality of somebody who's going to be successful in business is a pretty obvious one. I would just say that. So I saw it, and my mother drank. My brother committed suicide over a business failing. My mother drank herself to death. I had a front row seat for the entire thing. Everything went sideways. She lost again. I was, we were parking the car 3 blocks down, so that when what do you call it, they were coming to, the creditors were coming to collect the car and tow it away and knocking on the door and serving papers, etc. So saw all of that. So I saw the good, the bad, and the ugly, and just the thought of, I remember when I was on a date with a gal, her name was Sarita, and I heard the words business and coaching. She was telling us, basically, she said business coaching, and I'm like, oh, got that, stop, 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 stop. I said, what did you say? She said business coaching. Yeah. And I'm like, is that a thing? And I, honest to goodness, said, I stopped the date. I literally went home early. I said, look, gotta go, got the check. And I went home. This is dial-up internet days, and I Googled, it was 2004, and I Googled all night, dial-up internet, did not sleep that night, stayed up all night. They'll call it 5 a.m. And all I did was search business coaching, this, that, the other. And from that moment, I've always said that's what I've always done. But the real, I don't know, genesis, the hunger, the insatiable appetite, it's that we save young Karls from the separation that ruined my family from the divorce that ruined my family. Remember, I end every one of my emails for a reason like this. Marriages break up from lack of money over lack of love times a million. That's absolutely true. And of course, some, you know what I mean? That's a sweeping generalization, but horrifically accurate in my opinion. Um, and it's just the families, you know what I mean? Staying together. My parents would have stayed together to think of how everything. I literally was talking to my best bud. We just went on a fishing trip, and I was talking about this literally 2 days ago. And I was like, my life, my family, my parents didn't get separated, didn't get divorced. How it would have ended up so differently. And in my opinion, things happen for a reason, to do. But I just can't see how it didn't have a better outcome for my mom, a better outcome. Certainly my brother, my father still, to this day, is 82 years old. He tells me like he thinks he's not a day that goes by doesn't think about my mother, right? So you don't need to speak to him to know that maybe I don't know that he regrets it. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that things would have been, if he wishes he would have done things a little bit differently, and they would have ended up a little bit differently. So not to mention the separations, the divorces, the depression, the suicide attempts, the suicides. And the truth is that all of that stuff happens at a ridiculously higher level in entrepreneurial families than it does in non-entrepreneurial families. The average entrepreneur is so much more likely to suffer from depression and have suicidal thoughts than the average bears, and it's not even funny. So there's a insatiable appetite inside of me. So the question is like for you, but like, what is your why? And by the way, if you want to find it, Road Dog and I talked about this on different times of the podcast, but I sat down with Road Dog over a beer many years ago. We were in Las Vegas, and he said to me, Carl, you got this powerful why, and you get up there. I don't have that. And I said, whoa. You don't do this by accident. And I just said to him, and I'm saying to you, what are the three most painful periods of your life, the most three painful experiences of your life? I can almost guarantee you that your business coaching career, your desire to coach people for a living, remember, there's a lot easier ways to make a living than coach people. That um, yeah, that's where it resides. It did for him. It will for you, I would imagine. I can't tell you that, but I would be surprised. And then, but by the way, it won't be a straight line. It's like, oh, okay, well, this happened. The divorce happened, the separation happened, the bankruptcy happened, the parents, when I was young happened, my, blah, 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 blah. There's not a straight line. You're going to need to connect some dots. But what does Steve Jobs say? It's always easier to connect the dots moving, looking backwards than it will ever be moving forward. So don't, it is going to be absolutely possible for you to connect those dots, but don't expect you to go, oh, wow, that experience, and that's why I do what I do. It's like, oh, wow, that experience led to this, and this experience led to that, and that experience led to this. Oh my gosh, and now I'm doing this. So anyways, there's my answer. I think that's a good question, though. You really should. Making 10 grand a month is not the reason you got into coaching. There's going to be something significantly deeper and more meaningful for you. And when you exhaust that, when you do it, I think it's really powerful. Think about this: your marketing. Look, if you do your marketing right as a business coach consultant, your marketing should impact 100x as many people as your coaching ever could, right? Like an example for me, I do a daily email. Again, a database of over 100,000 people get that, and then my this podcast been downloaded hundreds of thousands of times. So my like, not everybody's listening to this, not everybody's reading my daily email is paying monthly fees. So that's like an example. So you doing, okay, that's me, right? What's your podcast? What's your daily email? What's your local live event? If you listen to last week's podcast, I believe it was me talking about running local live events and why I think that's a good idea. So anyways, I hope that helps. But what is that? Michael Schumacher was Michael Schumacher because he had an insatiable appetite for racing. But like, Michael Schumacher was a mechanic. Okay, again, people don't realize, like, he would come back into the pits and he would go, here's what's wrong, I heard this, I heard that, lower this, lower that, do XYZ, because he was a mechanic. The same way, like, Michael Jordan was defensive player of the year, the greatest offensive player to ever touch a basketball, And then he became defensive player of the year. When he became elite at defense, that's when the Bulls started winning the championships, right? Mike Tyson was like, whatever way, at heavyweight, very, solid, heavy man, but he moved like a lightweight, right? So, as a business coach, that's one of the, like, I learned, I went knee deep, dive deep into accounting. Why? Because again, I was like, you know what, this is something that doesn't come natural. That was like the equivalent of, I co-wrote a book on accounting. Reason, a big reason behind that is what I just said about Michael Schumacher and Michael Jordan, is that, what's the yin, the yang? What's the, how are you gonna become, like the next level at advising business owners? And for me, that was it. What is it for you? Find that insatiable appetite. I just love to help people. I get people on the phone, and I do not, to a fault, by the way. Like I to a fault. I want to solve problems. I just, my wife and daughter, they're like my family, and I've got two other stepkids, right? Them too, like, oh my God, stop fixing my problem. Stop fixing my problem. So anywho, there you go. That's the answer to that. Next question. How would I get to 250 grand as a business coach from a standing start? How do that? First of all, who knows? Again, I don't know that. Maybe what I said earlier, is that the best goal for you? No guarantees. It's a whole lot of work. What I said, so look, you got to set a bullseye, right? You have got to, because what I just said a minute ago, you got to have that why, and like, 10 grand a month, it's not a good goal. But that said, you got to create a bullseye. Okay. So 10, let's just say 10 people, 10 people a week for 10 weeks and 10 clients as an example, right? That would be really clear. It's defined, it's tight. It's not like if you put 10 people in a room for 10 weeks straight, that would be 100 people. I find it hard to believe that you would not accomplish some of the financial goals that you had laid out for yourself and the impact goals that you laid out for yourself. Notwithstanding, you'd be so much better at running that presentation than you were on your first. Once you got to your 10th, your stories would be better, your examples would be better, your metaphors would be better, your ability to engage with the audience would be better, your jokes would be funnier, your ability to bring humor into your presentation would be better, your PowerPoint would be better. You know what I mean? So like that's a really good goal. Maybe I do this. Look, Karl, if you set a goal, what would you do? What's the roadmap? Karl, put me on the spot, right? That's how so get me on I get a billionaire on the phone. Like, again, I get a billionaire on the phone, man. I'm asking questions and shutting the hell up, right? I'm listening. And I'm not listening to speak. I mean, I'm listening to listen. So um, here's how I would get what I want. Number one is I would define clearly and definitively what I wanted. And it wouldn't be 10. I mean, it could be 10. You just set your goal at 10 grand a month and just damn well go get it, right? But I don't think that that's the right goal, right? And then I would write it down. Don't, like, just think about it. Do you know what I mean? Write it down. I believe pen and paper is significantly more powerful. Okay, so then what I would do is I would definitively define it. I'd write it down, and then what I would do is I would write it down at a minimum 3 times a day. In the morning, I would write it down. In the afternoon, I would write it down, and at night before bed, I would write it down. And by the way, I used to have a habit. I haven't done this in actually a while, but I get like a piece of paper and I write down my goal, and I write it down on this piece of paper so many times that I write it down until I can't see any white on the paper anymore, right? So I just write over and over and over and over. And again, not just writing it down, but what am I trying to do? I'm trying to feel it, right? I was just told you my best bud. We were, so there was 4 of us. We went camping, do it every year. It's awesome. So we did a little thing, right? Which I initiated it because I was trying to there was a reason behind it. Won't bore you with that. But I said, guys, we got to write this for, it was in the morning. And I said, I need everybody to say 3 things that you're grateful for. But I said, I don't want you just to say it. I don't want you to say it unless you can feel it. And if you don't feel it, you got to come up with a different one. And no doubt you guys know what I mean. And I said, no, I was being deadly serious, right? Like I want to, I want that gift for you guys. I want that gift for myself. And I said, don't unless you feel it, then it's not right. You know what I mean? Like what you're grateful for, I would dare say the same. Like when you write down your goal, do you feel like if you really care about, the separations, the divorces, the depression, the suicide attempts, the families breaking up, and then the children, like think of the children when the parents get separated, what happens to the kids, the trajectory for the kids, right? And maybe in some cases the anomalies, or once in a while it works out well. The truth is generally doesn't work out so great, right? Kids, it's just not good for a kid to be, back and forth, back and the kids need certainty. That's a fact. Kids need certainty. So like if you took your child on like a world tour as a young individual, and generally speaking, and again, it's always case by case basis, but generally, someone who understood psychology at a really high level will tell you this is a bad idea for a kid because they need the same room, the same blanket, the same pillow, the same roof, the same bathroom. You know what I mean? Just everything, the same blanket. Anyway, so certain kids need certainty. So I would ask you, when parents get divorced, does that take certainty away or provide it? I think it's very obvious, takes it away. That's bad. But anyway, so okay, let me get on. What did I say? So number one, I got to decide clearly what I want. Number two, I'm going to write that bad boy down 3 times, but I can't write it down until I've done the first thing, and then I got to clearly define what it is that I want. Right. Um, Three, because you feel it, because you own it, and I want you to think about it early. I want you to think about it all day, every day, right? Yes, and maybe if you don't, like insatiable appetite for success, Roger Federer, Michael Schumacher, Kobe, Michael Jordan, Oprah, etc. Again, they thought about it 24/7. I've managed to control my addiction a little bit to work, etc. But I got to tell you, there was a time like if you go into my notes, like you guys know, I write a daily email and I do jokes. I have got probably I have no idea, but at least 500 jokes canned, ready to go. So I'll be why? Because I'm scrolling through Facebook and I see something funny and I put it in my notes. And then I do the exact same thing for building a business or marketing or wealth creation, etc. Like I have I absolutely, positively, non-negotiable I have a insatiable appetite because of, and again, go to my family, right? My family, like basically lack of money, basically toileted my family, the end, and then therefore created a very chaotic dynamic for young Karl. Um, so anyway, so not good. So I think about it 24/7 because I think again I've got an insatiable appetite for it, and I just love it. I feel like when I'm passing on business, marketing, wealth advice to you, that I'm potentially saving a family. That's true. That's in my gut. That's me. Who cares? You. What I can't do is I can't, from the last question, like your why. What gives you that insatiable appetite, right? Hopefully it's not for video games, right? That's unless you're going to start making video games. Anyway, so think about it 24/7. Um, Next, you get like, but thinking, and then again, you overthink. I've been guilty of this. Like now you got to execute, right? And you're better to be like, you know what I mean? Not have as great of an idea and execute than have the world's greatest idea and not execute. And if you're not an executor, you need to surround yourself with executors, by the way. Absolutely, positively critical. So you gotta, one of my best buds, John, we went back and forth yesterday and he basically just did a Facebook post and, he's bottom line is that he made it. He's just like, you know what? Like he's built, many a multiple 7-figure businesses, serial entrepreneur on steroids, and a very damn good one. And he just basically just forget your ideas, right? It's about execution. Execute, execute, execute. I don't want to hear about your what I call idea sex. Idea sex is great, and I am so guilty of this. It's scary, but again, I got some of the greatest ideas, in my opinion, of all time, right? But you know what? If you don't execute, forget it, right? Going to take an idea, create a plan, and then execute. But bottom line, I'm just going to use one word, execute there. I don't know where I'm at here. 2, 3. I think I'm at step number 4. After that, I've said this before, no doubt lots of others have said this as well, but it's one thing to write down your goals, which is good, but you'd almost be better to write down your sacrifices, right? Like, what are you willing to give up time? Are you willing to give up a little bit of sleep? Are you willing to give up money? Are you willing to give up security? The worst addiction in the world is comfort, times a million. Are you willing to give up? Like, are you willing to take on stress to give up comfort, right? And if you're not, um, bad news for you, right? But time, money, um, there'll be resources, you'll have to give up, I don't know, maybe sell a car, gonna have to sell I don't know. And do I recommend selling a house? No, to build a business. That said, I don't know how, show me your level of hunger, show me your level of insatiable appetite for success for that thing. As a chiropractor, as a dentist, as a butcher, baker, candlestick maker, and I'll tell you how you're gonna go. So yeah, what am I saying there? Just, you got, there's sacrifices and you got to damn well just accept them. So what did I do there? So can I rehash? Number 1, I got to decide definitively what I want. Number 2, I got to write that bad boy down and multiple times per day, every day, consistency. It's not an apple. It's not 7 apples on Sunday. It's an apple a day to keep the doctor away, right? So write it down every day, 3 times a day, if not 10 times a day would be better than 3. But I'm going to say at least 3 times a day, and once in the morning, once at nighttime before bed. Sink it in. Okay. Third, just think about, if you're not thinking about it 24/7, and maybe that's a little bit, not everybody's as extreme as some others, so take that with a grain of salt. You've got, what I mean, you might be at the stage of your life with 3 young kids, etc., so take that with a grain of salt. But understand, if you've got 3 young kids and you want to start a business, I am sorry, there's going to be some time with family sacrificed the end, and pretending anything different, and anybody telling you anything different is either lying to you or is inexperienced. Okay, because you are going to have to sacrifice some time with kids in order to build a business, because it's bloody hard. That's number 3. Number 4, execute. You have got to execute. Again, ideas look great, and you got to think about this stuff, and you're better to think about things than to just act. But hard work does give birth to profitable ideas. But execute. And then number 5 is, you just got to accept that there will be sacrifices. And I think acknowledging that up front, like time with family, time to yourself, holidays, sacrifice some money, definitely sacrifice some comfort. You got to just accept that from the word go. So I don't know. So there you go. There's 5 steps. Okay, that's good. Question. Shoots.
Buddy,
Is this
what is up, my friend? I am sorry that I am late. I am tardy. I am not very diligent, and I am not very disciplined on this Monday morning.
how's it going, bud? What's happening, man? What's happening?
Well, just not to timestamp, but it's the most happiest time of the year, as the Staples ad says, as it is back to school for the kids tomorrow, and no one is happier than me. Perfect.
There you go. Okay, well, look, I'm just cruising along, man, going through these questions you text me. So the next one is, well, man, coaching is all about listening, how to become a better listener. So, and actually, let me, anything to say about the questions about making 250 grand a year as a coach from a standing start, or the example of a good why, or the note? Anyway, what are you doing, Shoots? Give us some word, give us some magic, man.
Some road dog wisdom? Holy smokes. You were talking about execution versus I walked in and all I heard was idea sex, and I was like, I'm instantly engaged in this podcast. But I think it just, for me, it comes down to, what is your daily, not your habits, because that's sort of tired, I think. What are your daily disciplines? What are you committed to doing regardless of how you're feeling that day. Like, Carl, do you have that? Like, is there like a sort of a list that you have where you're like, okay, like most people, right? It's like, okay, I need to do these, if I do these 4 things inside my business, be it I'm going to do outreaches to businesses, I'm going to post some value on social media, I'm going to do whatever. Like, if you do that and you're committed, regardless of how you're feeling that day, I think that's sort of a needle mover.
A little bit of magic. I would agree. So you mentioned habits. Like, first of all, where's your airplane, right? If somebody's airplane is on the tarmac, or somebody's, you know what I mean? If it's at the tarmac or it's at 10,000 feet, it's going to be really, really different. Um, so, like
But
you
to that
said,
extent, would you not still say that just because you're at 10,000 feet, you should always maybe act like you're still on the tarmac? Because otherwise you might all of a sudden start a descent.
I Okay, Amazon. Why was Amazon Amazon, or why is Amazon Amazon? Because it's always day one. So I would agree with that wholeheartedly. But what you said a minute ago, like, it's one thing. Like, what are like the activities? Reaching out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not waking up in the morning and then reaching out to 10 to 25 people, right? I'm going to my calendar and I've got, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? The schedule is laid out. I'd also tell you this. Here's a habit. Use your calendar. Time has got natural restraints, right? You've got either 8 hours in the day that you're working, 12 hours in the day you're working, and there's definitely 24 hours in your day. So there's your restraint, whether you want it. For that's Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Mark Zuckerberg, Road Dog, me, you, everybody. So you got to use the right restraint. Where most people will create a to-do list, and there's no limit to what you could put on your to-do list. So you should be taking the stuff from your to-do list and putting it onto your calendar. But I'm also going to say that that's somebody maybe a little bit like you're, at a little more so for somebody at 10,000 feet than somebody with their airplane on the ground. But that said, Road Dog, I agree totally. Amazon is Amazon, because they always day one, man, always day one.
I
So
would also caution on the to-do list thing. Don't like, how about just 3 things a day, right? Like, because if you start piling on, then it becomes an overwhelm, and then you just don't do anything. Like, if you did 3 things a day off your to-do list, right? And you work 5 days, that's 15 things a week. I guarantee you that's more than you're doing now, right? Like, I think that's sort of a key one. And then the one thing I always learned was, what's the one thing that you could do this week that it's like it's the first domino that sets everything else in motion, right? I think that's a key one as well.
Yeah, the book, I think it's called The One Thing by Keller, the Dan Keller, is that it? The Keller Real Estate, right? Very good book, been
Mm.
recommended 1,000 times, in different ways. But anyways, it's like that. It's like, what's the domino? What's the one thing, if you do it, it'll eliminate significantly more things off of your to-do list.
I heard a good one, Carl. It was, oh shoot, I always heard it back when I was still in the financial planning training stuff. And it was one of his coaches that said, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Like,
That's
it's a play on words in a way, but it's like, well, yeah, like, because we get so distracted, right? The main thing is to keep that main thing as the actual main thing. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
So yeah, I just want so it's okay, example of that so that everybody can get the importance. Like Michael Jordan, look, he's a billionaire because of basketball. No, he's a billionaire because of Nike and the shoe sales and the Air Jordan brand. But if he didn't keep the main thing, and what's his main thing? Basketball, right? So again, if he stopped the main thing, the billionaire status and the Nike, and the sales of Air Jordans, like, whatever number decades later, they're still the most, I don't know, they're like still crazy sales, right? For that brand and that shoe. So anyway, so you got to keep the main things. Like, if you're a business, look, like if you're a business coach, one of the things that you could create as your main thing, we talked about last week, is doing a local live event weekly. If you can just make that your one thing, I promise you, the business coaching clients, the group coaching clients, the mentors, the JVs, the good advice, the idea sex that becomes the plan, that becomes the execution, will be just fine. So anyways, yeah, another way of asking that, Shoots, is does it make the boat go faster? Right? Like, so again, if it makes the boat go faster, you should, and again, what that is, a team trying to, row to the finish line. Anything that doesn't make the boat go faster, they, you know what I mean, have to think long and hard on whether or not this is an effective activity. But if it makes the boat go faster, they should be all about it. And by the way, a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a second makes the boat go faster. They should be thinking long, they should be thinking about taking that on. Doesn't make the boat go faster, it's a no. So similar to the domino, similar to the one thing, but probably pretty obvious, Shoots, right? But it's like earlier, I was answering like, like how would I make XYZ happen? How would I accomplish my goal? And it's like, if you don't know, if you can't define your boat going faster, then I got bad news for you. It probably ain't going to work. And an example of that is doing a local live event with 10 people, come hell or high water, no holidays, no this, no that, no, you don't miss. Within, again, take that with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? You're gonna take the family on a holiday. Look, I think that should trump you doing a local live event on that specific week. But let's say you're going to do 50 of 52 weeks, or you get someone else to show up on your behalf. Give them a script, get them to deliver it. I don't know that I'd be doing that, by the way. Probably a bad idea, or I don't know, a bad idea, but that's probably not the road that I would be going. I'd be just taking a damn holiday with my family and not worrying about it. But anyway, so there you go. That would be, and maybe it's and it doesn't need to be, if it's direct mail, if it's direct, actually, no, it wouldn't direct, that wouldn't be an example of the boat going faster. But if it's a group coaching call on a weekly basis, where entrepreneurs can come for free and ask me anything type thing, then that could be your one thing, because you're 25xing your impact than your coaching ever could. And if your goal is to educate the local community, I think it's way more important that you do that one ask me anything call with hundreds of business owners than it is that you take your 9 one-to-one coaching clients and find a way to get them to pay you $5,000 a month versus 3,500 a month, or wherever you're at. So anyways, there you go, Shoots. I like that. Good one.
I just think it's interesting when you just said that too, with the clarity, right? Like, if you're not clear, right? Any destination, any road will do, sort of thing, right? So it's really, really fascinating, because that was always my biggest challenge, has always been a lack of clarity, but because of, as you said, that the idea porn or sex or whatever you're calling it, anyways. But that's just it. Like, you always have all these multiple ideas, rather than just no, this is the one path that I'm going to go, and then defining that path and getting really, really clear on it. And then, rather than, and this is maybe just me doing self therapy here for a second, Shoots, but stop falling in love with a million different ideas and fall in love with a process, and how you can make that process the best thing ever for an experience for your prospects and your clients to go through.
Yeah.
Like,
There.
fall in love with the marketing, fall in love with the funnels, fall in love with the ads, fall in love with the events, fall in love with the process.
Yeah. Fall in love with the lead gen for your events. You know what I mean?
And
Totally.
fall in love with the follow-up, fall in love with how much more value can I add? Like, if I add another 3 pieces of value before the event even started, would that increase my show up rate, right? Or what else can I do now that I recorded my last event? When I watch it again, what else can I do? Where did I lose the room? Or what else can I say to add even more impact, have more impact? Like, how can I make that point? And that's always a big one, right? Because just because we say something doesn't mean that it's received that way. So it's like, how can you deliver the most important points of your presentation in a way that they get it?
Yeah. That's Shoots. What you're talking about is optimization, like that um, aggregate of marginal gains. When we were in, shout out to Todd Saylor, by the way, for this one. Basically, what you're talking about is just small incremental improvements in multiple areas. This profit acceleration software was literally built on the premise of exactly that. So it's this famous story. The British cycling team were just absolutely horrific. Guy came in, can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he ended up getting knighted. But basically, like, they were so bad that they wanted to get sponsored by this bike team. I can't remember who, just call it K2 for the sake of the argument. It wasn't them, but somebody like that. And they said, not only won't we sponsor you, we won't let you buy our bikes. They said, why? Because you suck and we don't want you on our bike. And dead serious, true story. It's out there, right? But anyway, so he broke down cycling into 100 units, and his goal was to create a 1% improvement in every one of those units, including what they use to clean the tires, including painting all of um, the vans white so that they could see dust, because dust fell off the roof of the van, which went into the tire, which could go into the brake, which could go into the pedal, which could go into the chain. Do you know what I mean? And slow it down ever so slightly. But that was the manic way that he went about it. And yeah, and guess what? And you look back, and this is true. There's again stories out there, and they've won Tour de France many a times. They won unbelievable amount of Olympic gold medals, and his goal was a 10-year goal, and he accomplished all of that within 5. Anyway, so it was
Funny how
really
that
really cool. So aggregation of marginal gains, small incremental improvements in multiple areas, and you get a compounding result instead of a linear result, and that's magic. So, and that again, software, the Jumpstart 12 and the Deep Dive 40, literally, profit acceleration software is literally built with that in mind. So there you go, shoots. So
Hey,
that's it.
listen, I want to pop in one quick thing here, and that is, and I think this is really, really important. Okay, I want everyone to focus on what Carl's about to say. He doesn't know what he's about to say, but I do, and that is when because we preach live events every freaking week, right? Like you and I, we're like the old school live event guys, where people are like, oh my God, are these guys talking live events again, right? And this is the piece that I learned from Karl, everybody, and that is where everyone goes wrong in preparing for a live event is you only focus on the beginning and you never spend time on your close and on the end. And that's where you had said that's where you should be spending the most amount of time practicing, is because naturally your energy is high at the beginning, that you've got to figure out a way to maintain that energy throughout the presentation, and then also finish strong and have a super strong close and practice the close. Because that's one piece that you've always said to me, was that's where people fall down, is they never practice their close.
And notwithstanding, you got to deal with confidence. So like if you play pool, right, Road Dog, I play pool a few times. The Where do people mess up? Are people better at the beginning of a pool game or on the 8 ball? Okay, and and again, sweeping generalization, and no doubt you could show me an anomaly or like a freak pool player, but generally the amateur average pool player is way better. They're way better when the pressure's off than when the pressure's on, and the pressure's never on the way it is on the black ball. So what do? They screw up the black ball. Why? The same way when somebody's bluffing in poker, why do they sit and stare at, the guys just sit and stare at you, stare at you, stare at you? What they're looking for is a change in your breathing pattern. So when people go to the black ball, they change their breathing pattern. When they bluff in poker, they change their breathing pattern. Guess what people do when they have a great presentation? They get to the what? To the close, they change their breathing pattern and everything changes. And that's, you've seen it. As I'm saying that, you've seen it, and there's a good chance that you've done it. So what you want to do is practice your close until you could literally be woken up in a deep sleep at 3 a.m. and just spit out that close so easily. Um, yeah, because that's mission critical. So,
And just, can I add to that for a sec? So back when I used to sell insurance in Canada here, there's 3 different types of insurance. And anyways, so when I did that presentation of the 3 different types of insurance that I sell, blah blah blah, I knew that presentation so well. And people would say, "Does it not get boring for you?" And I just said, "I don't even think about it. Like I'm so I like I'm out of It's almost an out of body experience where I'm doing the presentation almost on autopilot. And all I'm actually doing is watching their body language, and I'm watching what they're doing to see what I need to do to either re-engage or pivot or do whatever. And I think that should be the same. Like, we should all be so good at closing. We should be so good at doing our presentations that we can just pick up on body language and all these other things.
Yeah, that 100%. When you're close, that look, communication is 7% verbal, 9 to 11. This is what they say, right? I don't know, but this is, and I believe in these numbers, right? 93% is the other stuff. So when you can read, you know what I mean? When you're especially one-to-one, when you're trying to close somebody, that I can comfortably tell you, like, I'm pretty, you know what I mean? I'm a good closer. And I am reading body language, tonality, and that's sort of what I'm one-to-one with people. And I can even do it over the phone. Like I said, I intentionally, I get them talking towards the close and in the close, and I can tell that they're, you know what I mean, the speed at which they reply and the way in which they reply and the, you know what I mean, the love, you know what I mean, you know what I mean, I can hear kind of that conviction in their voice versus that fear in their voice or that hesitation in their voice, and I kind of know where I'm at. So because I have practiced, you know what I mean, like, again, Road Dog said, hey, go sell this. I would go to the close. And by the way, look at okay, wait, just real quick. If you want to improve your closing, improve your opening. Okay, so what's that? Building rapport. So let's not take this as, oh, okay, so I don't practice the rest of it and I don't practice the opening. That's not what we're saying, right? You need to know the whole damn thing. And in fact, your opening should be lights out, and rehearsed and practiced again. So you can be reading body language and looking at your audience. But the close tends, what Road Dog said, people practice the opening, and then don't practice the close. And that is a huge mistake. So you got to practice it all, but the close, without doubt, so you can be reading body language the way Sheets was just saying. So there you go.
And you know what they say, 60% of the time, it works all the time. All right, Shoots, do you want to close out? What's one thing? I missed the whole beginning of this, so I'm sure there was like lots of Easter eggs left around early on in the pod. So what's the one piece that you're going to give everybody to take away today and implement, besides go out and do a live event? That's a given.
Good question. I'm going to go to the first question of, rather than a Zen thought, but the letter from your former self to yourself, and just my letter to myself would be, chill out, you make it. It's all good. So there you go. That's my final thought. That's my final
That
thought.
just reminded me of Austin Powers. Allow myself to introduce myself. Anyways. All right, everybody. Apologies that I was late, but thanks for tuning into another episode of Business Coaching Secrets with the King of the Caribbean, the Dolphin Master himself, Karl Bryant, the Dolphin Whisperer. I'm working on it. I'll think of something next week, folks. Hey, if you're not on the inside and you're not getting access to A, the pre-show, or B, all of the value and the assets and all of the gold, all the Easter eggs that Karl hides around focus.com, go there, subscribe, do that today. And again, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it. We want to spread this message out and help as many people as we possibly can. And of course, leave a review, do all the things, as we know that will also increase the exposure and get that help to so many more people. And that is it for another week. Hard to believe. We will catch everybody on the next episode. And remember, folks, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryant built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.